So onward with the next step on building my much larger nuclear power plant. The next thing I want to do, now that I've got all of my raw resources set up on the drone ports, is build what I'm going to think of as my copper outpost. Now, the area that you're going to see in a moment, I'll flash it to you here, that's fairly large. I don't know if it's going to be big enough or if it's going to be too small or too big or what. So I'm going to start laying out my outposts, and I'll do everything with blueprints so that if I have to rebuild differently, I can do that without too much angst. So what do we need here? Apparently I need 348 copper sheets per minute, which my computations, my planner says I want to build 7 220% factories. And then I need also feeding that and the ingots I need elsewhere. I need 19 245% refineries building pure copper ingots, for which I'm going to need 814 water. I like nice and symmetric factory subsets. I like numbers to be round. And those make it a little hard to divide it out. I mean, I can construct proper dividers and all of that. I started thinking about how to do this. And really, 19, with these quantities, really, this is like 3 belts of copper ingots. But when I subtract out the amount we need here, we do the math real quick. Subtract 1750 minus 348. It's a total of 1402, so that's 2 belts of 700 plus. So we're going to get 2 full belts out of here of copper sheets, of copper ingots. And what I'm building out of my copper ingot is like 3 decently nearly full belts. So I'm thinking that I could do this as clusters. Now, if I divided this down by 3, this would mean I've got a little over 6 per cluster, which would mean 7 per cluster. Yick. What if I divide it down by 2 and then round everything up? So that's the numbers that I ran. So when I ran my modification, here's the plan I came up with. So 2 rows of 4 clusters of 3 refineries making pure copper ingots. And that works better because each cluster of 3 refineries can go in one blueprint. So I can do a blueprint with 3 refineries making pure copper ingots at 200%. And I can drop that down 4 times, and that's a row, and I can drop down 2 rows of that, and that gets me everything. And each row is going to take 360 per minute of copper ore. Well, that's like 2 drone ports feeding that. And each row is going to take 240 water. So this is actually 1 pipe. So I'll just make this 480. So we're going to take one of my incoming pipes, and the pipes all have 600 water per minute. And I will drop a pipe of water in there. Oh, I added some more pipes to my my water area. We could extend that, but at this point I'm up to let's see, 7 by 640. Yeah. Anyway, I'm up to more water than I need at this point. If it turns out that I am profligate with my pipes and I drop too many pipes in too many different places, I can always use some pipe shenanigans. I think I can run 3 more pipes up the thing there, the pillar there, without changing the look, and I can always, start a new line. So we're at like 42 full pipes of water. We're going to need 30 of that for the reactors. That leaves us with 12 pipes of water. I think I counted up, and with the original plan, I only needed 14 pipes, and most of them were small. So we'll be doing some water sharing. Anyway, so if we build this, we get out 2 by 4 by 225 ingots. So 2 rows by 4 clusters by 225 per minute. That's a total of 1,800 ingots. But we're going to divert 360 of them down here to steam copper sheet. So essentially, we're diverting most of the production of one of the groups. So I'm going to lay down one blueprint of pure copper ingots, and then next to it place my steamed copper sheets. So that first one can feed into the steamed copper sheets, and I can take the remaining copper ingots, and that will flow onward. And each row, this 2 by is 2 rows, we end up with, enough ingots to nearly fill a belt, but we're not full. So we're gonna get out our belts that way. So we'll end up with 2 belts going out to the right from each row, one with copper ingots full and one with copper sheets almost empty. I could literally use like Mark III belts here, but I'm going to do everything in Mark V because, well, I'm lazy. So let's set up the blueprints for that. Move everything out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. And I used a deck blueprint to basically stripe across a whole bunch of stuff. I've got this maximum size deck with this 1 meter high that I can plop down, and with this in blueprint mode, they just clip really nicely. This should be big enough. So Blueprint Designer. Let's do a design that has 3 refineries, and there's going to be liquid and solid input and liquid output. The steamed copper sheets and the pure copper ingots literally differ only in the input and output ingredients. They have the same geometry, so we'll be able to basically duplicate the recipe. So I want my output to be just enough space on the output to gather all of the outputs together and send them off to the left. Let's put it here. I want to do it elevated. What I'll do is I'll keep my solids elevated and I'll run my liquids here on the ground floor. This will allow me to take the solids from the first pure copper ingot group, run the belt down between the refineries and across, and have that feed these guys. So let's see here. I want to have a raised floor here. And I'm just going to use this as the level to bring it across like that. Okay, so now we need to punch the floor holes. I want to keep my mergers and splitters really tight in on the refinery. I may want to do some fancy stuff with more space, but let's see, where are we here? We're on this line. Oh, I better do this from below so I can make sure that this actually has some space. I think that works. Let's make sure. Okay, that little tick tells me if that's clipping in. Good. So we go over here and we go over by 1 plus 2 more. Hit H, go down and make sure we're lined up. And then we go back over here, over like this, and 2 more. Hit H, make sure we're lined up. And now we can do that. And the merger's on the top. I'm not doing this as tight as possible. I could literally put all of these over one more to the left, and things would clip in nicely, and we'd we would see decent looking merging, well, decent looking lifts going into mergers and such. But stepping these out just a little bit makes it easier to build. And we've got space. And we can set these belts up. So when we stack these side by side, we will need to route the belts between the blueprints. That's normal. Unless Coffee Stain decides to make the blueprints be able to clip to each other and have belts joined to belts and so on, we're stuck with that. Now these guys, first of all, let's make sure I've got this. I could bring this in tighter. I don't think I want to. Yeah, if I bring it in tighter, it will work, but it won't look that good. There's the tick saying we've connected the input. I hate making a whole blueprint, getting it all neatly tucked away, and then finding out that you have the lifters going the wrong direction. So we need a smart splitter, because I want this to be a pure manifold. The reason why I'm doing this is mainly for the steamed copper sheets, where I do want to divert all of the ingots that I can into the machine and then pass the rest. And if I don't use a smart splitter set to prioritize sending them into the refinery, then we are likely to not be able to keep the refineries full, because they'd only get, the first one would get half the input, the second one would get half of what's left, the third one would get half of what was left. And we might, that last one would probably get starved no matter how we do the math. And doing the smart splitter will be a manifold. It will be slower to start up. That's all right. We can handle that. So there's our inputs. Let's program this. So what I want to do is preferentially send out the left output and send the overflow through the center. Okay, so input comes in here, zoops across, fills these guys up, and when they're full, it'll go onward. So I am actually thinking that I'm going to put 2 groups making the ingots, and then put the steamed copper sheets up, and then 2 more groups making the ingots to fill up the rest of the belt. Just because I like symmetry, and 2 on each side seems more symmetric to me. Now we're going to run the water down about the middle here. Now we could make this a lot tighter and have the blueprint take up less than a 4x4 area, but that doesn't gain us anything, because we are not trying to make a totally compact factory here. Now, I know you're supposed to run the water higher so that they don't... Yeah, I suppose... Okay, I just convinced myself that this entire approach is wrong. I need to run the water higher so that these guys don't drain each other. Okay, I'm going to try this again. This time I'm going to run the water high. I'm going to run the solids at ground level. So, clear designer. Let's try this again. Production. We are running a refinery. Our output is going to be into a merger, which is going to be elevated. I think we can do it. Yeah, we can do it from here. We weren't having any trouble before. Yeah. So we're going to see if we can make this work. I will try it first with just one. Ah, I didn't place it right. Aha. Let's try this again. This time, make sure that it's actually aligned in the proper place. Okay. Now these probably, yeah, I will have to, or will I? No, I can actually stamp the new refineries in despite the fact that the foundation's there. Well, that's good. Okay, so we want to have a elevated merger. So this is close from below. It could be closer. Let's put it closer. I think that'll look okay. And this means that our merger sits here. So we do have room. Just like that. And then the other side, we have along this line. Let's do it from below again. This is going to be, oh, thank you, autosave. There's a lot going on in this particular save, so my autosaves are up to around 5 or 6 seconds, maybe 10 seconds, I don't know, I'm guessing. I don't have that great a sense of time. There's that. And now we put in our smart splitter here. And there is one refinery. I am going to want to put in some liquids. So let's drop in our junction cross pipe here. There's that. And we're going to start out with this setup for doing pure copper ingots at 200%. So this is going to get replicated all over the place. So when we put these down next to each other, we'll have water flowing through the pipe. We will have either copper ore going into this guy, coming out as copper ingots, or we'll have copper ingots going in and coming out as copper sheets. And we'll just have to change the recipes on those. So we're going to call this new blueprint. I don't save anything important as new blueprint, which makes it easy for me to get another guy out there. So now we pick up our new blueprint. I actually have a prototype that I tried earlier, which was wrong. And we're going to place this next to this guy as close as possible. And I used H to lock the hologram so we could move it back and forth. Make sure that the water's lined up. Make sure these guys are lined up. Wish I could make it closer. Move it back because it was too close. There. So this is as close as they can go. Now we have 3 of them. We can hook these up now. And just to check, I forgot to program these guys. Good thing I checked. So this is any goes to the left, overflow goes onward. And they're all set. These guys should all be set to pure copper ingots, 200%. So now we're going to go ahead and save this as pure copper ingots. And notice the thing warning me that I'm overwriting the previous one that I had. Boop. Confirm. So I was going to put down 2 of these, and then have one that does copper sheets, and then put down 2 more. I don't really need to make a blueprint for the copper sheet one because it's just a change of recipe. I do need to make sure, though, that I get this the right way around. So the pipes are toward me. Now I could put it here, like this. I think that's a little close. I'm going to start it here. So we're going to get a total of 5 of these for this row. Now let's check and make sure I've got the water calculations right before I stripe all the water across. So water is 480 up on top. Well, this is 2 by 240. This is 2 by 180. 240 plus 180 is 420. So this whole line can take one of our water pipes. Now, sometimes I can't use middle mouse click to pick up a item. After I've been placing blueprints, I have to go and select build something and quit out of it. Not sure if that's worthy of reporting as a bug. So now I need to pick up one of these guys. Yeah, I think I'm going to just bring it straight down till I'm in line and then back it up by 1, 2, oops. That. And these first 2 are okay. And we're going to make this copper sheets. Boop, boop, boop. And I'm going to take a break for a bit and be back to finish hooking this up and building it. You won't even notice I'm gone because I left my editor showing while I was doing that. So that's what I just did. And I will be back very shortly. If I can find the pause button. Okay, after that brief pause, I am ready to start hooking this back up. So we have water. And in fact, we already have water flowing in and it's already filled up all of our stuff. These guys don't have power, so they haven't started accepting it yet. That's all right. So our ore is going to come in from the left and feed these guys. Now the total ore, each one of these takes 30 copper ore. So that's 90 per, so that's 180 for this. So this belt could be very conveniently fed by a single drone port. And we take our outputs, and the output is 75 per minute. By 3 is 225, by 2 is 450. And we're going to take this, and I'm just going to take it, snake it right on through here. Boop. Back it up by 2 so that I get a nice square edge. Oh, come on. Sometimes user interfaces don't do what I want. That's all right. 2, and we click there, and then we bring it up so that it's level with the guys. So the first set of copper ingots is going to flow through here, like that, and it will preferentially feed these guys. These guys will divert their 135 per minute copper ingots off of the belt. And now we want to take this back. And this is going to feed back in over here. So we take it to here, we back 1, 2, and up 1, 2, and over. Now that leaves us with these sheets coming out of here. Now I could turn this merger and bring it to the middle and around. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it down to ground level and take it off to the left because there's nothing else going on at ground level. But a normal, if I just clip this on here and over, that's ugly. So instead what I'm going to do is start from the bottom. I'm still in line, and I'm going to reverse this. I'm going to bring it all the way over here, and voila, like that. So now we have the ingots, which are coming out at 700-ish per minute. This is, let me check this, this is 225 times 4 minus the 180 is 720. So this will end up with 720 ingots per minute on the top. And at the same time, we have on the bottom our, does this go, this doesn't go all the way. So I'm going to stop here. Keep it nice and symmetric. We're going to run it all the way out to there. But we're going to wait to do that until I have done this. Got to get rid of the pole. Now I could have put in the stackable conveyor poles here, but I wasn't moving too swiftly on that, so there we go. And now these guys, we will need the other drone port feeding in here. And that's good. We're going to end up with 2 drone ports on the left and 2 drone ports in the middle because we need to feed into a second row of this. I'm going to get that second row done before I start knitting together all of the input stuff. But stepping back and looking at it, that looks like it'll work. So now we bring up blueprints, pure copper ingots, and we put our water on the left where it belongs. I'm not sure why it's, oh right, it's going to try to join these because the blueprint that we're placing is not exactly 4x4, but by pulling it out here, it's centering it on the foundations, which are a 4x4. So we need to make sure that it clips to its foundations rather than trying to join with an adjacent blueprint. And we didn't notice that before because we just happened to hit it right. So now we pick up the water, move that first. This is going to pick up our second water line from the bottom. And this just needs to come over here and grab the second one from the bottom. Now, actually, I should probably peel from the top here. I don't know. Yeah, as this comes across, yeah, it's easier if I peel it from the top here. I don't know why I just deleted those. Now, if I go horizontal to vertical, it'll do that for me. So my thing with the verticals is I'm going to use the one on the bottom, and then I'm going to use the one next up, and so on. So this guy comes out here and stops too short of the vertical. So there's underneath it, and there's 1, 2. If I have done this right, I can take from here and I can say, grab him. Okay, do I go the other way? Okay, so I guess this is a gentle enough upward that I actually need to bring it out here, back it off by 2, and raise it. There we go. And that leaves the bottom one for the next guy. And as I need them, I will snake over more of these sets of lines. So our idea is going to be that when we've got this kind of a cluster, we find the first set that we can get going in, and then we take the bottom one of it. So we'll use boom, 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 bottom to top, bottom to top, bottom to top, and so on. And over there, what we actually have coming out is these groups of 9, but I filled it in the middle. So there's actually a group of 7, and then there's a blank 3, and then there's another group of 7. So water's coming in, and now we need to get our drone ports. And I just love to elevate my drone ports. We also need power. I forgot to put power in the blueprint. Oh, frick. 2, 3. Okay, so first of all, did I say I set these to copper sheets? Need to set these to copper sheets. And I'm going to have to run the power manually. I'm going to put it on pause real quick while I just quickly stripe the power down. You don't need to see me fumbling. And I'm going to have to fumble a little bit to get the power where I want it. I really should have put that in the blueprint. But I don't want to go back and have to... Yeah, well... No, I'm going to put it on pause. I will fix the blueprint. Then I will put it on pause. Then I will replace these with the new blueprints and connect up the power. So what I want in the blueprint, so I want this guy to come right down in front of him. And I got lucky. There we go. Now I'm going to promote this from a pole 1 to a pole 2 and connect him up. Instead of having 3 poles, I'm just going to have the 1 pole. Actually, that's easier to retrofit than to do this. I'll go ahead and save this as my pure copper ingots. But I'll just do it by hand. Instead of picking up all the blueprints and putting them back down, I'll just put the power in by hand. So, quick pause, and I will be back with that done. Okay, it turns out that the power retrofit is not hard. Basically, you take a power pole, you find your center guy, and you look down here, you hold down control, and it'll just put it right in place for you. So now we connect up the power to the 3 refineries, and then I connect it to the one to the right of me, and to the one to the left of me. I already did all the others. So now all of our refineries have power. They all have the recipes set appropriately. They all have everything plumbed and all their belts. Oh, I didn't do the belts for the top part yet. That's easy enough. So the top set was plumbed properly. The bottom set was lagging because I was lagging. So here, 1, 2, we sneak this up here. To the right height, over. And back to here. One, 2, and back up. So there's our ingot line. And as we did before, we snake this in. I get the pointed the right direction and aligned. And we're just going to run this right across like that. I think this time I'm actually going to go to the effort of using the stackable conveyor poles properly. So now we can bring this guy over to here. And this guy's going to sneak in between them like that. And let's make the poles look right over here, even though we didn't use them to set things up. And what did we not do over here? We didn't hook things up. We hooked up the water, but we didn't connect up our ores. So this gets it all set up. So now we need our 4 drone ports, each feeding a pair of sets of refineries. Now, because we are requesting, we will be responsible for sending out batteries. So I am going to start from the very end here. And we're going to raise ourselves up a little bit. So first off, let's give ourselves a little space to work with. I don't like sitting the drone ports in too close. Now, from here, I want to raise ourselves up, say, how about 5? Let's go 4. And we can zoop across here. We're going to need 5 drone ports, 1 to pull in batteries and 1 to pull in, 4 to receive resources. And I'm actually doing overkill at this point. The reason why I want to set the lower level back a bit is because I'm going to do 2 levels. And the batteries in my particular blueprint flow from the left to the right. So I'm going to be putting a pair of drone ports at this level and another pair at a higher level, and then a blank spot and another drone port for batteries. And the batteries will get split up. I think I'm going to put the first 2 sets of drone ports in a line so that their outputs come out along this area here. So let's go to my drone port blueprint. There'll be 1 on this level and 1 at the level above. So we hit H. So you can see how this is set up. I've got a little tray area here. This is for batteries coming in from the right and being fed into the drone port. And then we've got our drone port output here. And I want to align our output along the seam of this guy. So right here, along this edge. Oh, I just barely hit it. So this is where I want it. So the belt will come in here, it will come out on this guy, and then I can drop him down through and over and through. And well, I'll show you what happens. If you try to put it 3 foundations higher, zoop. Let's say I try to put the other port, instead of clipping it in here, I'm going to clip it in higher and 1 to the right. What happens, come on, 0, is we actually cannot fit here. because this ends up putting the tower jammed up in here. And if I even try to pull it one more to the left, it's still inside the bounding box. This just needs to go one higher. And I actually experimented with having one highs all the way across. And again, we want our output to be along this particular thing here. Did I get it? And I got it. Good. Now with those in place, I can get rid of most of this. I don't want to get rid of that one. In fact, yeah, let's get rid of this. What I will do is I will set up a new frontage area based on where the drone ports actually land, since that will make it easier to clip into the right place down the line. Okay, so there's my two drone ports, just kind of left freestanding out there. Both of them have battery inputs here, and they both have power inputs there. And I tend to drag the power inputs out underneath this first layer here. So this guy will need to be also going across like that. So the bottom port is going to feed that group of 6. Let's take care of that. So his little hole goes there, like that, and he will drop down to the appropriate level for his inputs here, which are like that. Now, I know I could have brought it in further to the left, but I wanted the one that was above to drop down on a slightly higher level and head over and then make a dogleg turn into here. Let's zoop this in here. And just to keep my thingy in mind, it's going to be that level. Like there. And we can get rid of these. So this is the first one coming in below, and he'll just slide through the block, not a problem. So he comes out level with the splitter and back 1, 2, and now he's routed. And the one above him goes in here. And now he needs to come across level with this guy, which means he also needs to perforate this area here. So he's going to come down like up. Yeah, let's draw him where he needs to be, and then I will put the hole in the right place instead of in the wrong place. How about I turn that to make so it makes sense? Yeah, like this. So it matches the other one. And it clips in here. I'm going to take these up until I figure out what I want this to look like. We don't need physical support. So now it's just a matter of what do I want this to look like in terms of having it standing, freestanding in the air, or having it, have some support underneath it. I will work that out later. For now, these guys will need to have a request set up. Well, they have a name set up and some batteries flowing in, and then I will set them up at the other end so that the copper mines will push into these four. Let's just make absolutely sure all ports, and the copper is all in DD2C. So we have 6 stations on the other end that are going to be pushing copper. And we're going to be bringing them into 4 stations on this end, and oh, that was a bad plan. Now, 6 stations can push into 2 stations, and I already know that works. So, let's get rid of the top station. We're going to have 1 station that's going to provide output to both of these guys. Oh, I see what part of the problem was here. Yeah. So this needs to provide 2 lines, one going that way and one going that way. Well, that sounds like a splitter down here, doesn't it? That's easy. Sorry, I should have counted my... I should have counted my my stations before I started building the too high thing. 2 stations can push into 1, 3 stations can push into 1, and we'll get it. That's actually how I tested my throughput over there, was having 3 drone ports all pushing resources into 1, and they were able to run 600, 720, depending on their original material source. So he clips in there, clips in there, and this is just needs to be a normal splitter, so we can do a normal conveyor so you hold down control. Oh, cannot match all connections. Okay, so apparently I cannot downgrade that splitter. So we get a normal conveyor splitter out, like that. And I placed my I placed my power along these lines, forgetting that, of course, I was going to be putting my belts through, so that belt is going to clip that power. I will figure out what to do about that some other time. Maybe I just won't worry about it. No, I can't live with that. I really just can't. Let's bring it out to here. And along this same line, similarly up to here, and over. And now we can get rid of the power line that is clipping down through there. there's our drone port that is going to be pulling in enough ore for both. Oops. Yeah, let's connect it to the right guy. So 4 zoop to there. Yeah, that would have been disastrous if I'd actually cranked that up, because that would have taken, would have split my aura between the input and the output on this side. There we go. Okay, so now we need to do the same thing down the ways. So just like him, I need to align it on the split. And it's going to be this split here. So here's where these foundations were offset a bit. And we need to make sure this is not set to blueprint mode. And it's like there. Okay, so here is where I want it coming down. Come on. Double check. Boom, boom. We're going to be over the top of this belt here. And I think that's right. So this one, because we are over the top of another belt, it means that we are going to be one higher, which means we have the easy way to do it. Oh, thank you, autosave. There we go. We're going to need to bring that in there and that in there. And zoop that across there. And we have a splitter here. There's a normal splitter. And I think what I'm going to do, instead of having my conveyors sitting out normal size, is rezoop this with 1 highs and put holes in. So change it to 1 meter high and build mode is zoop, and we head out like that. And now we put in this guy, who's going to be here. Well, I could put it over one more, and this would make a nice corner for that one. There we go. Oh, no. Okay. Never mind. Tuck it in tight. 'Cause I don't want terrifically long hoods on my verticals. So it's the same thing. We're going to sneak through here on the seam. Now I could move this belt one to the left or to the right, but I really prefer to have it centered. Okay, this zoops out that way so we can bring our source of materials in. And there we have it. So this should be feeding, oh, haha, we're not done yet. There. So now we have 2 stations. And there needs to be a belt between them, which means this needs to zoop across like that. And that is 9. I am not sure. One belt will not stretch. So I need to go halfway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's bring it to here. Okay, as long as we are stretching things across. And like I said, I like symmetry. I could stripe out another 9 across there, but that would put the last one way out here. Or I could put the battery station in the middle. It already has to split to feed itself batteries. So that's what I'm going to do. So 1, 2, 3. So these 3, this area in here is going to be the battery station. Doing it from below may make it a little easier to see what's going on for me. See, it would have been off by 1. There we go. So now the thing is, the batteries are going to go normally from here. It's going to head to the right, but I need to reverse the splitters on these other 2. So that splitter's pointed the wrong way, and that splitter's pointed the wrong way. And it has been my observation that if I don't reestablish the lift, it doesn't connect. That. And I know I need to add a splitter down here to send my output to the right place. So you are feeding downward. So, splitter. Splitter feeding from this direction here. And it's like that. Make sure this lines up. It does. Now, grab this splitter and bring it over here. That's wrong. So there's something that is centering on this line, and that's not where I want it. I want it centered on this line. So power from there, not power, batteries from there to there, and then batteries off to the right, where we're going to bring it down to here. So another splitter on the proper line. sure it's the proper line. I did kind of clutter it up close, didn't I? You know what? I put them all one too far to the left. Okay, let's put them on the proper place. Or did I? No, is that correct? No, that's not. That's the incorrect placement. So when I place them, I need to put it just one in from there. Like that. There we go. That's a better looking guideline. So, down into there, and up there, belt them across. That looks correct. So now this guy should be able to request some batteries in. Let's see, transport drone. The drones for these two live on the other end, but their batteries will live on this end. And now we need power. I've already run power down into this under area. Unfortunately, I ran it to where it's right next to that splitter. This is a good place for us to bring the power in. So this is just to the left of the line, and it's one further out. Just like that. And this guy can again come out to here. And I will tap it to this larger power pole here. So we've got a small power pole coming up from below, feeding the larger power pole here. And all these guys have power, and none of them have batteries. Well, I have some batteries on me. I will start by putting some batteries in here. I will start by putting some batteries in here, he says. And now we have drone port. So this is DD2C wants batteries. I go here and I say batteries, or specifically has batteries. So DD1Z has batteries is the guy I want to talk to. High Dots is way across the map. That's my other base. DD1 is my battery factory out here for the Dune Desert. So Dune Desert 1 is the battery factory, Dune Desert 2 is the nuclear factory, and Dune Desert 3 will be stuff for the beanstalk. So if I've done this right, we should see this guy get batteries. And let's set up the other guys. So this is DD2C wants copper ore. And And DD2C wants copper ore too. And then we go to all ports, and we say DD2C, and we say, okay, so 1, 2, and 3 are going to go to 1. And these guys are going to go to 2. Like that. So shortly these will take off and come here. They're going to expect to find some batteries here. I probably shouldn't have turned that on quite yet, but let's see what happens. Well, just in case they arrive, I'm going to pre-load some batteries because it did send all of them at once. Now let's sit and watch this for a bit. So here we are. We have tons of ore coming in. And each refinery is taking until it's full and passing the rest onward, and we delayed long enough that we actually are getting some down to the end. Not a lot. And just to double check, yes, on the end I do see a whole bunch of ore and a whole bunch of copper sheets. And we got ore and sheets here. And the other thing I want to watch for is, are we going to continue to get water? Because this is the first time I have ever actually built a water system like this. So, just to review, we have all of our water in one place. And the water tower provides pressure to provide head lift. So I have one pump on the other side, which is not overclocked. And it is feeding into a line that is repeatedly pumped going up. And there is a industrial container up here. You don't need the container, but I have it so I can kind of monitor what's going on. So you got water coming up, going into the container, and it comes back down. And as long as there are no valves or pumps to reset the head lift, everything that that water line connects to is going to have head lift to take it up to the level of this industrial container. So it comes down, and and tucks into the bottom, and I have sealed all of this up. Let's unseal it temporarily. And I showed this on an earlier one. This could be a this could be a Mark I pipeline. It shouldn't be sustaining very much flow rate, because it'll get picked up, and the fact that it's connected here will assure that there is that much head lift in all of the upgoing lines. Let's put this back as a door. I wonder if I can retrofit as a door. How about that? So if you have a part, you can put another part on top of it using control, and it will retrofit it. Although in this case, I think what I need is a side door wall. Like that. Then over here, we'll just put in center door wall right there. So we could swoop in here and land and run through the door and say, oh, here we go. Yeah, I didn't color code this. I may come through at some point and set all of my pressure pipes to be nice and red and Mark I and all of that. So it appears we're doing okay. So as long as we actually have good flow, well, look at that. We're sustaining 600 per minute on the top one. And the second one is kind of flowing back and forth. I hope that's just because we're starting to fill up. We are not taking our outputs anywhere. I'm going to set up some sinks, and we will be back with a performance test. So the performance test is in progress. Basically what I did was I just took all of my outputs and routed them into sinks. It's been running for a little bit, not long enough yet, but you'll see that the sheets, which are producing slower, are all drained out, so they're happy. But for us to get a real read on how fast we're producing ingots, we really need to wait until all of the machines look like this. They need to have full inputs and no output backed up. But if we go to the farthest upstream producer, he's still going to be running slow because he can't send his output. And it's steadily going down. And it could very well be that this one's not fair because he's taking this in. So it could be that he will always be full. I don't know. It seems to me that we should, at steady state, be able to clear all these out. Now, I could force it by turning off my drone ports, and everybody would drain out, but then we wouldn't see fair steady state. We would see startup behavior. So we can either see startup behavior with we're starting from full, with our full backed up outputs, or we can see startup behavior with, okay, nobody has any to work with. So either way, we would have to wait for it to stabilize. So I'm going to pause here until my leading machines drain their output to the sinks. I don't really want to break the assembly lines here and say sync everybody. I could go through and manually pull the ingots out of the machines here and get us there. But I think I could just wait. I will continue to just sit here and wait with this on pause. So we just ran out of power. I knew this was going to happen. Apparently our nuclear plant on the other side of the world is not producing well. I need to go diagnose that. But until I do, I need to turn on no power. Now, diagnosing that other nuclear plant is going to be a pain in the butt. So we'll finish up what we're doing here under pure power on, and then I will go figure out what's going on over there. I've had problems with the other power plant not getting enough batteries because my battery supply on the other side of the world is fairly sparse. And when you have a lot of different drone ports, I've got a lot of different little bases over there. Each one of them has a port that draws batteries, which means that if you consistently are not getting batteries because your drone arrives at the source of batteries just after someone else, you could end up with some resource not getting to the nuclear reactor, which is why all of this is all going to be specific to this reactor. The battery port over here will be servicing only this stuff, and there will be enough batteries to go around. I did not build enough batteries to go around on the other side, obviously. Anyway, back to waiting for this to stabilize. But yeah, the warning I got was that one of my battery banks was starting to discharge. Which tells me I also need to put up a priority power switch somewhere. At some point we will do priority power switches on a lot of things because they are really ultra cool. Okay, so when it saw that it was discharging somebody, it didn't start turning off priority groups because it had batteries. It had the big cells available. So I don't have to turn anything back on. So yeah, the problem is that we are not running our reactor. Reactor at the other end provides 90 gigawatts. So this 43, this is coming from our oil. So our nuclear reactor at the other end is completely shut down. And we're still draining here, so I'll be back when this is drained. I obviously need to build a cannon. And I need to figure out why my pause button isn't working. Okay, so we are back from our ill-fated excursion to the other nuclear plant. And our performance test is well underway. So our lead element here is running at 100%. That's all I can really ask. Just spot check these guys. They should all be running at 100%. Copper sheets. So the lead elements will be running low if it was still stacked up. If it's not, these last elements are the ones that would get the least resources, and they are also running at full. So this design tests out, and we are managing to spew ourselves out at the appropriate rate. So this belt should not actually be saturated. Let's see, 720 out of, I think it's 780. So we may not be able to see that it's not saturated. Is anybody backed up? I think. Yeah, we're not having any trouble putting things on the belt, so apparently it's not completely saturated. Okay, so I am going to shut this off. In fact, I think I'm going to put this on a little bit of a power switch. So let's set up a power distribution thing here. Then I can put a power switch on there. And there. And he's also, I'm going to power switch. I don't think I really need to power switch the drone ports. If I power switch the drone ports, these guys will go back to their base. That's good. So it's going to go out to here. We're going to hook this up. Whoops. Power switch right here, and this is going to have the label DD2C. Oh, come on. DD2. Why can't I type a 2? Okay, so it looks like even though I'm typing into this area here, it is not letting me because it's intercepting those as keyboard commands. That's not good. Maybe it's got Alt or Shift or something down. Yes. This is the DD2C copper outpost in quotes. And I'm going to put this in priority group number 2 for now. And now we can pick up those guys. There we go. Oh, I can turn off the no power thing now. So, this now tells us that our grid is producing 130 gigawatts roughly, and the nuclear power still is not happy. So I should be able to diagnose it if I go over there and spend some time on it. If I cut copper off, this says that this particular copper area, this takes 2.64 gigawatts to run. And interesting that the moment I cut power on this, the nuclear power stabilized. What was going on? Well, I don't know whether it was nuclear power or oil, but those are going up by big jumps. Anyway, so we have a copper outpost here, which I have cut power to, because we know that it can do all of the capacity we need to do. We have our incoming copper. These drones are going to stack up trying to deliver to us. I think they expend their batteries when they take off, and I think they can hover there forever. Anyway, and dawn breaks. So there's the copper outpost, and it will be feeding its output. Let me bring up my plot here. Graph outposts. Well, Satisfactory just crashed. So I am going to send them this report. Oh, they want to know steps to reproduce. Play Satisfactory for a while. Oh, this is actually a bug in the AMD driver. So yeah, I was using an older version of the driver because when I did an upgrade of the AMD drivers, Satisfactory would crash the AMD drivers. So I rolled it back and it was stable. And I just started playing Baldur's Gate 3, and it is very aggressive about telling me it has to be the latest driver. It's demanding a driver that isn't released yet. So now I'm back to running the April driver that crashes on Satisfactory. Symptoms, crash, description. I will work on this bug report. Anyway, so what we're seeing on the screen right now is that this is the way that all of my outposts, local outposts, are coming together. DD2C, you can see here, kind of in the, oh, my cursor isn't showing up. Oh, there it is. So here's here's the one we just did. So it will be needing to feed a lot of things to DD2F. Everything else is low quantity. I can either belt it around or have a little dedicated drone port. But as long as this guy is close, we're good. We can just run belts across. Anyway, so that's it for today. I will resume recording once I've figured out the rest of this stuff. See you then.